Hi, this is Tim Garman for NZDP 101 and I'm just going to demonstrate how I would open a file to begin with. So in Photoshop I go to File and Open a Smart Object. Now I'm going to search for the week 4 split toning image, which of course now has changed to color grading in Camera Raw. That's a new term. So I'm just going to open that and it automatically opens in Camera Raw. So I just want to point out this link at the bottom of the screen with the size details, etc. That's a live link and you click on that and it opens up the Camera Raw preferences box. So it's important to make sure this bottom box is checked. Open in Photoshop as Smart Objects. Now, if it wasn't checked, I could just cancel my Camera Raw window. So because I've cancelled it, we haven't opened the file. And I can go to Photoshop. Now I'm on a Mac and I find the preferences for Photoshop under the Photoshop window or menu, sorry. If you're on a PC, I think it may well be under File or Edit and possibly called Options rather than Preferences. Sorry, I haven't got a PC available to show you that, but find Preferences and go to File Handling. So under File Handling, you'll see we have a Camera Raw section under File Compatibility. So we just want to make sure that this box here, prefer Adobe Camera Raw for supported RAW files, is checked. So make sure that's checked. If it's not, then check it. And you've also got a button that takes you into that same preferences box we looked at earlier. And you can double check that Photoshop checkbox is checked. Open in Photoshop as Smart Objects. So check those things are both correct. And then hopefully things will open up correctly in Camera Raw. You may well find that you need to restart Photoshop when you're changing settings in the preferences box. So let's run through that process again and just go to File in Photoshop and Open as Smart Object. Browse for your file, click Open, and the file will open in Camera Raw. But there's a couple of other things that I want to point out. Let me just adjust my window. There we go. So we can turn this to black and white, and we can do that just by clicking there. And we can also, while we're still in Camera Raw, and that's quite important, while we're still in Camera Raw, we can go to color grading and do something drastic. Click OK. And we'll see the changes have been made. And we can go back to our layer palette where we see the thumbnail of our image with the small rectangle indicating that it's a smart object. And we can go back, double click that rectangle, and it will open again in Camera Raw for some further editing. But I want to make one other point here. I'm going to go through that process once more and just show you something else. So File, Open as Smart Object, open the same file up, and we've got it open in Camera Raw. This time, if we turn it to black and white, but then without doing our color grading, we click OK. And we see the changes have been made in Photoshop. If we go to our layers palette, double click the thumbnail, we get back into Camera Raw to do some further editing. If we then do our color grading and click OK, this time we find that colour hasn't been applied to the Photoshop file. Why is that? And I know some of you have have been finding that. Well, the clue is if we go up into image and mode, we'll see this is a grayscale image. So that can't display any color because it's a grayscale image. So that's the clue really. So make sure that if you're turning something to black and white in Camera Raw, and then you're applying some color grading, you do it all in one process rather than opening the image in Photoshop and then going back into Camera Raw to edit. Because if I can go back into Camera Raw once more, and we'll see that the edits are still there, but they can't be applied because this is a black and white image. So do it all in one go before you click OK in Camera Raw.